There is only one thing that is worse than going to dinner with a large number of people at a restaurant, and that is being vegan and going to dinner with a large group of people at a restaurant. Ordering is the most frustrating thing ever. So over the weekend, we're celebrating someone's birthday. I went because it was a milestone and I couldn't avoid going. That would have been rude. I wanted to be in attendance. I wanted to celebrate this person because it was a nice thing to do and I wasn't doing shit else, so why not? So we're giving our menus, we're chilling, we're talking about things, we're catching up, and then all of a sudden, my cousin leans over and starts whispering to me, and she says, "So, what are you gonna eat since you know, you have that thing going on where I don't eat meat or dairy? That thing, you mean? Don't eat meat or dairy? You a vegan? Who's a vegan? I know it ain't no goddamn vegans at this table. That damn what the hell." Yes, guys, I do eat a plant-based diet. Plant-based my ass, you vegan nigga. Okay, yes, if you guys need a label, I am a vegan. So you don't eat cheese? You wasn't raised that way, little nigga. Why am I just now hearing this, Kevin? Yeah, so sorry I didn't send out my newsletter of things that I eat and shit out, but this is something I've been doing for a while now, and it works for me. So that's that. Let's continue ordering what the fuck we're gonna order. All right, cool. So now at this portion of the dinner, multiple people at the table are invested in what it is I am going to have to eat. They start offering suggestions that are just off the wall. You eat fish, right? No, I don't eat fish. That's pescatarian. You can get this baked potato. It got bacon bits on it, but you can just shake those off. 1 or 2 ain't gonna kill you. Oh, this sounds good, Kevin. It's a wedge salad. So that's lettuce, tomato, croutons. Oh yeah, that sounds good right there. Cranberries. Cranberries? Oh, with ranch dressing. Yeah, that is definitely an option. I would probably just get a vinaigrette though, because I don't eat ranch. You can't have no ranch! Oh, hell, cut this goddamn shit out, nigga. You know, Kevin, with all that's going on in the world between Trump and Black Lives Matter and just the death of our young black boys, I just don't understand why you can't eat things you enjoy. Okay, so this is crazy. I got this from here, you guys. Go ahead and order your meals, and I got me. Okay, thank you though. I appreciate your help. So the waitress comes out and starts on one end of the table. She takes everyone's order, no problem. When the waitress gets to me, it gets quiet as hell, as if I'm about to give a fucking speech for winning a Pulitzer Prize. So yeah, I am just going to do sides tonight. So let me get a side of asparagus. Asparagus? A side of broccoli. Broccoli come with my meal. You can have mine. Stop wasting your money. And what the hell, I have a side of fries too. Thank you, that'll be all. Hey, nigga gonna be farting all night.
Yeah, the outline with Kevin Dwayne, Kevin Dwayne. Yeah, the outline with Kevin Dwayne. The outline, with Kevin Dwayne. This is the outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne, with Kevin Dwayne.
Yo, what's up, you guys? It's The Outline with Kevin Dwayne. We have a great show ahead. I have author Antoine K. Adams, who's going to join later to talk about his book, Victor, My Journey of Triumph, a memoir. But I had to come in here and talk about the thing that we've all been talking about all weekend, and that is motherfucking Black Panther. I have seen this damn movie 3 times since it's been out. 3 damn times. I did not know I would be affected in this way. Let me give you a short background. I was not a comic book person, like a lot of people. I wasn't into comics. I wasn't really into superheroes. It wasn't my thing. I like things that are based in reality. I like people to do regular shit. It never really touched me. In the last year, I picked up this interest in watching more things like that. I talked about this on the show before. One, I began watching Game of Thrones, which opened up my mind into more sci-fi type things and fantasy, not sci-fi, fantasy items. Then I watched Harry Potter. I watched Lord of the Rings. And my mind started opening up to different concepts that weren't necessarily based in reality. It was like reliving childhood or doing it a different way as an adult. And I was like, okay, I can get into this. So I started watching movies with Raven, Sensei Raven, who you should be familiar with by now. We started going to see superhero movies together. So I saw Wonder Woman with him. I saw Spider-Man with him. And so I was like, okay, I can rock with this. This has its own kind of entertaining ability. And I can see why people are into it. So when they announced that they were making Black Panther, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. If I can pay to see Wonder Woman and Spider-Man, I'm damn sure going to be in the building when you have these black ass superheroes like in a film. And I'm going to see it in the highest format. And I did just that. So on Thursday, I woke up in the morning because I think even on the show I talked about this. I didn't think I was going to see it opening weekend. I thought I was going to wait until this upcoming weekend to see it because I didn't want to deal with the crowds. I didn't want to deal with craziness of, all that was going on. But somehow I ended up talking to my friend Brandon, and he was saying he was going at like 1 a.m. on preview night, which was Thursday. And I was like, that's late as fuck. But you might have a point by going late. So I woke up on Thursday, which was also payday, and I checked Fandango, and I noticed that they had a showing at 10:15 at a Mall of Georgia, which is about 15 minutes from me, where I live right now in Gwinnett. So I was like, okay, they have openings, and it was tons of space in the theater. I said, okay, I'm going to go. And it was for IMAX. So I was like, bet. So I bought a ticket for IMAX. So at that point, I started getting excited because I'm like, oh, wow, I'm actually seeing a movie on opening night or preview night at that on Thursday. So I felt kind of like I was a part of the movement. So all day I was thinking about it like, oh, this is going to be dope. I didn't get dressed up because that's not really my thing, but everyone else did. When I got there, people were in their finest dashikis and their whole, all the garb. Everything was just covered head to toe. They were taking pictures in front of the posters, and it was a moment. So got to the theater. It was sold out. Every seat in the theater was filled by this time. The movie was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like I have never witnessed a film of that caliber where you didn't want it to end. It was 2 hours and 12 minutes, and there was not a boring moment in the entire film. It moves so swiftly. The characters are amazing and developed. Everyone was beautiful as fuck. Like, it was just, I was the first time I was so amazed to the point that I was actually brought to tears at certain scenes, like the ritual scene where, he can be challenged for, being a king, and like just the beauty of them going up that mountain and all the people and the different outfits and the music. It was perfection, absolute perfection. So I saw it that first night, and I realized that after I saw it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. All day Friday, it's all I could talk about. It's all I could, I just couldn't get over it. So Saturday morning, I woke up and was like, I got some time. I woke up, found another ticket to see it at the same theater for 10 a.m. that morning. So I went to the gym, and then I went straight to the movie theater after going to the gym. Well, I showered, of course, and then went to the movie theater. This time I saw it in 3D. The first night I saw it in IMAX. The second time I saw it in 3D. So I was like, cool. So I see it from a different perspective. Another amazing showing. This time I noticed all the minute details that I didn't catch in the first showing. It's so good to watch movies more than once because you get to see so many different changes and things that you didn't catch the first time because you're paying attention to the plot. Once you know the plot and you know what's going to happen, you can then kind of be lax and see what else is going on. By this time, I don't really care about spoilers. If I give them, oh, well, you should have seen it by now. It's fucking Wednesday. So the second time around, I started noticing minor things. For example, when he goes to see King T'Challa goes to Shuri's lab to see his uniforms. I peeped that she had 3 there. She had the old one, she had one in gold and one in silver. And then he made a comment like, oh, the point of being Black Panther is to not be noticed and not be flashy. So he went with the understated look. But when you notice when Eric Killmonger takes over, he takes the gold. And I was like, I love how that was a nice little foreshadow of what was going to happen later on. But you had to know that already from the comics, or you had to know it from seeing the movie already. And then even that, I also paid attention to the beginning part where they're explaining how the vibranium came and how it took over the country and how one tribe wasn't with it and they went to the mountains, and they were talking about the Jabari tribe, and they're just those little minor details that you don't notice because you're trying to figure out what's happening. So the second time I caught all that stuff, and that was beautiful. The third time, me and Brandon, we found the only theater in the metro Atlanta area that had IMAX and 3D simultaneously in the same showing, and we drove to fucking Douglasville. Douglasville is not close, so we decided to go yesterday and make a trip out of it. We're like, fuck it, let's just go. It was like, with traffic, like 40 minutes from where he lives, and he lives in Midtown. So I drove to his house, worked from his house for a couple hours, and then we drove out to Douglasville, and we went and saw it in IMAX 3D. And that was the best showing of it because you got the huge ass screen and you got the 3D action, and the sound was super loud. It was so perfect. This time, I was focused on everything visual. I was focused on all the uniforms or the costumes, and I was paying closer attention to the action scenes and how they were curated. I also have watched tons of behind the scenes footage between the last showing and this one. So I watched the Easter eggs video on YouTube. I watched Ryan Coogler explain the scene in Korea. He broke down all the different elements. So with this new knowledge, I watched it with all of that, and it was just phenomenal. After 3 times of watching this damn film, I'm still not over it. Like, I can still go and watch it again. I'm not, you think you get to a point where you're like, okay, I don't have to watch this again. I'll probably wait maybe 1 more week, and then I'm going to go see it again. Like, I love it so much, and I'm only going to see it in IMAX now. Like, since I've seen it in all 3 versions, I'm only going to watch it in IMAX because that's my favorite. If I had to just choose one, I like the big screen, and I also like the way Mall of Georgia does it. If you're in Georgia and you go to Mall of Georgia, go to the Regal IMAX theater. The way their theater is made, when you walk into the theater, the screen is right there, and you actually have to go up an incline step to get to your seat. So it's not like a regular theater where you walk in and you have to go up a ramp to your seat. It literally, all the seats are put up in a way where everybody is like super close to the screen. So it feels like you're inside of the movie. The theater we went to yesterday in Douglasville, it was a regular theater, but it had a huge ass screen. But I like the idea of being really, really close to the screen because it feels like you're encompassed into it. Now, I wish the one in Mall of Georgia offered 3D in that IMAX simultaneously because that would have been an amazing experience, just period. But if I had to just choose just one, especially since it's local, I'm going to go to that one. So however many times I see this film after this, I'm just going to go to the Mall of Georgia and see it in IMAX because it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So, saw that yesterday again. So, For me, this movie is perfection. It is absolute perfection. I'm standing for it, so it's going right next to Beyonce and Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, and it's going like it's going to be categorized with them. Meaning, I don't give a fuck about negative criticism. There is nothing you can say to me about this movie that's going to make me change my stance on it. I think it is absolute perfection. Everyone who went against it, you're trash. And that's just that. You're trash. Like, I don't understand how you can sit in something so beautiful, so powerful, so well executed, so well written, so well acted, and literally tear it apart. How? There's just no way. It is a perfect film. It has the highest score on Rotten Tomatoes. It has broken so many records. It is a perfect fucking film. You're just salty if you found anything wrong with it. Sorry. And that's just that. I will gladly stand out for it. For you fake ass woke people, you're too woke for your own good. For you to tear apart something so black and so like this was a huge moment, and for you to go there looking for things to not like, you're trash. And that's just that. And that's my opinion on it. I am going to stand out for Black Panther because it is a perfect fucking movie. I have a goddamn commemorative cup. I don't buy shit at theaters like that. I was like, yeah, I want the cup. I want the iPhone case. I want the popcorn carrier. I want all the shit. I want the poster. I want it all. Like, I love the movie so much. Also, the men were fine as fuck. I need Dog Pound USA, Taggers, Breed It Raw, Men.com, whatever. I need y'all to hop on this motherfucking parody porn so I can get some fantasies on, because listen, there were so many little scenes where I'm like, this could be lit if done right. So go ahead, get to filming, find the right cast for the pornos so you can have the parodies of Black Panther. Y'all do it for all the white movies. I need a Black Panther porn parody, like immediately, preferably gay, but I love straight porn too, so that's fine too. I can rock with that. Just don't cast Brian Pumper and all these old ass niggas. I need new niggas to be in it. Ricky Johnson, he's fine. He can be a Killmonger. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so I need y'all to hop on that because it's so dope. This movie is it's a movement, man. I don't think I'll ever forget this, and I'm glad that I am alive to be able to experience something of this caliber. And the soundtrack is amazing. Kendrick did the damn thing with that soundtrack. It's a moment. I am so damn hype for this movie. So yeah, I just had to come in and just say that, and that's it. If you haven't seen it, you're crazy. Go fucking see Black Panther. Do not play yourself. See it in 3D, see it in IMAX, see it in both. Don't just go to 2D. I'm sure it'll be fine in just 2D, but treat yourself. This is our moment. Treat yourself to an amazing fucking experience. Don't wait till it goes on a digital release to watch it then. I'm sure it'll still be great, but you need to go see it in theaters. Go see it. It's so good. And yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back to talk with Antoine K. Adams. Today's episode of the Outline Podcast is brought to you by the LGBT Arts and Culture Music Festival Memorial Day weekend, May 25th through 29th of 2018. It is going to be in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. And it is heating up, you guys. They keep adding amazing guests and acts. So the update is you're going to have Sean T. You're going to have James Wright Chanel. They're going to be honoring Tamar Braxton. There's going to be a Vanguard Awards. There's going to be live concerts, island excursions, a film fest, networking parties, and much more. You can register now by going to www.lgbtmusicfest.com. Once again, that's lgbtmusicfest.com. Make sure you let them know that Kevin Dwayne of the Outline Podcast sent you. Today's episode of the Outline Podcast is also brought to you by Grammarly. If you write anything, I'm talking text messages, Facebook statuses, tweets, IG press releases, whatever, Grammarly is what you need. Not only is it going to check your spelling, it's going to evaluate your grammar, your tense, overuse of words. It will offer suggestions on readability. It is an amazing free app that you can have. Get it now by going to www.getgrammarly.com/outline pod. Once again, that is getgrammarly.com/outline pod. Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back with the Outline Podcast, and I have a special guest, like I mentioned earlier. It is none other than author of Victor, My Journey to Triumph, a memoir, Antoine K. Adams.
What a great introduction. Thank you.
It's a great one. I'm just reading the cover of the book here. But it was funny. At first, I thought to myself, like, oh, maybe I'll have him, like, kind of explain, like, who he is and stuff like that. But I think your About the Author explains you pretty well. And I'm just going to read that really quickly because I was like, hey, that's pretty concise. It says, Antoine K. Adams has been writing short stories, fantasies, poems, and songs since age of 5. Born in Jersey City, New Jersey, and raised in Lake City, South Carolina. Antoine graduated from Lake City High School, spring of 2011, which makes Antoine really, really young, okay? After completing high school, he attended Coastal Carolina University, where he obtained his Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Antoine is currently studying to become a licensed clinical social worker at the University of South Carolina. Antoine also enjoys photography, film, and video. And I think that describes you very, very well, especially after reading this book. Okay, so, man, there's so much to unpack. And I think it makes total sense that you're going into social work and that you're studying it, because when you hear, like, your story, and I don't want to, spread too much because I want people to actually go get the book, but you had some pretty harsh times, man, like, for sure. So my question to you is, like, how did you get the power to write this book?
That's a great question, and it's pretty common in, I can shortly say that I personally, I think it came mostly from writing for my own therapeutic reasons, and also, as I began, which I mentioned in the story, which was a large part of my healing process, was going to therapy. And just having authentic conversations with people and realizing that we always feel like so isolated in terms of, our trials and what we go through as individuals, but there are many people who go through those same exact things. So as cliche as it sounds, is, just listening to other people and hearing like, wow, I'm really not alone. I'm not the first person who's been, sexually abused or having feelings of neglect or abandonment from my parents or my family. So just, keeping that in mind definitely, kept me pushing, even in times as I was writing and feeling like I shouldn't say this or I should censor myself, and, pushing myself to be authentic and vulnerable as possible. So that's something I definitely kept in mind, is that, as much as we think that we're so unrelatable, there's millions of people who can relate to us.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. And I love that you touched on therapy because, as you know, for the longest time, and it's getting better, I think, but for the longest time, African Americans have had this kind of stigma with therapy. And yeah. I'm glad that you actually highlighted it in your book because it's an important piece. I've gone to therapy. I think I don't care who you are. I don't care where you've been. I think therapy is a piece that everyone can use because you're getting an objective opinion from someone who doesn't have any like biases. It's great to have that sounding board to help you think a different way, look at life in a different perspective. So I love that you actually highlighted that in your book. Have you, what are some of the ideas you received about therapy growing up?
Well, it was pretty, looking back, especially with my own study of trauma and mental illness and, how that shapes who we are. I think it was a lot of undiagnosed people within my family as I reflect back on my life. Mm-hmm. But it really was an end of, I think part of it is growing up in the South. It's like you don't disclose anything. What happens in this household stays in this household, and you pray about everything. So that's pretty much was the go-to if anyone experienced any type of trauma or in you had to put on the strong face and pretty much you relied on your religion to get you through it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that's part of the reason why we have each other to talk to and people and professionals to talk to. But in my household, it was something that was never spoken about. There was one time when I was in middle school. My grandmother lost her battle to cancer, and prior to her death, hospice came in, and they were wonderful to us. And one of the options was after she passed away was the counseling center from the hospital was sponsoring any family members, any immediate family members who wanted to go and talk to a therapist. And I began to go because my grandmother was very instrumental figure in my life, and it was kind of hard trying to process the fact that she was dead. But I was in denial for a long time. Make a long story short, I began to go receive counseling. So one particular day, I was leaving the counseling center and we got home. So we pull up in our driveway, and my uncle was there. And he was like, "Hey, where are you coming from?" He was asking me and my mom. So my mom told him. So he looks at me, he laughs. He was like, "Oh, you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs," and So I kind of internalized that. And to be honest with you, after that, I stopped going because I actually associated that, hey, me going to seek help there was something wrong with that. So I would just like stop going.
Man, like that's such a. I tell you, you're not alone in that. It's such a common thread in our community. And I was just telling a friend of mine just last week, I was like, it's so crazy that if you snap, people are like, "Oh, you should have received help." But then we also make fun of people who receive help. It's like it's a catch-22 either way. And I swear, what is it about uncles? Uncles are the worst. Uncles are just the worst. I don't know. Every story of trauma I ever hear from people is always at the hands of an uncle or an auntie. What is wrong with the uncle? Black aunties and uncles? Like, first of all, stay out of your nephews and nieces' businesses. How about that? Right. But then, like, oh my God, like some of the worst traumas is, I don't know if it's just because they're protected by our parents or whatever it is, but
I definitely agree, man. We all have that one or a few aunties and uncles who are just, off the chain. Like,
oh my God, just overbearing and just sticking their nose in things they shouldn't stick them
extremely
into.
Opinionated when not needed.
Mm-hmm. And then we're taught to respect them. But
right.
I always fought back. I was like, listen, respect is to be earned. I don't care that we're blood related. I don't care that you're older than me. Once you disrespect me, then all bets are off. This is not it's not I just always hated that idea. And I know, especially in the South, I'm not from the South, but I've been here long enough to kind of see how it works. I know that family is a really, really big deal here. And so a lot of people are like, they have this blind loyalty to their family, regardless of the trauma that they've been going through with them. And so that's always a difficult thing to hear because so many people are hurting, but they can never really push back because of that respect that they had to have.
Yeah, and you're taught to. It's a strong lineage of loyalty. Like you're taught that no matter. I mean, I've seen and witnessed and even been a part of some of the most tumultuous times, and it's like, but I can't detach myself from this obviously toxic and dysfunctional relationship because this is my aunt or this is my uncle or this is my cousin, this is our mom. And it took me a while to realize that regardless of, us sharing DNA and blood and being a blood relative, is that if you aren't bringing anything other than peace and, some type of solitude within my life, like I owe you no loyalty. I owe you no, I'm going to stay, continue to stay in this toxic relationship because this is my cousin or my sister or my relative. So I think you're absolutely right.
Man, and that's really what it is. I had I forgot the name of it. I'll probably put it in the show notes. I had a podcast that was all about family and my thoughts on family because I don't believe in the just because we're blood related, there's some kind of special bond, because there isn't. It still has to be built. Yep. And yes, there's a commonality, and yes, we grow up together. But at a certain point, if you're not loving on me and not reciprocating the same respect that I'm told to give to you, then I have to cut you off, blood or not. Blood is maybe thicker than water, but no, not in
Yeah.
actual life. You don't get to treat me any kind of way, and then I always come back. That's silly. It's pure silliness. But so many people fall into that, and
Hmm.
to each his own. Now, I didn't want to get too far away from that. Also, you were talking about how you went to church, you were always told. Now, in your book, there is a very Christian heavy theme in there. I noticed you use a lot of verses and stuff, and you have a very strong faith in God, which I think is amazing. Now, was it hard reconciling therapy with Christianity?
Um, Somewhat, but you want to know the irony behind it all is as I mentioned, when I initially went and scheduled a consultation and signed up at this particular facility, having absolutely no idea that it was faith based.
Oh, yeah.
And one looking back as I reflect on that whole experience, I appreciate it because it wasn't overtly in your face like this is our standard and this is our beliefs. And if you don't identify with any type of religion and especially Christianity, like you can't be affiliated with us. I did not learn that it was faith based until months in because I went consistently, if not twice a week, once a week, and of course not on holidays. But I went for a whole entire year, and I want to say I probably around. But I was probably like 4 or 5 months in that I realized that it was faith based, and that's because I actually stumbled across this a pamphlet as I was in the waiting area, and looking on his mission and his founder, and I was like, wow, that's so ironic, but it was more so, and that's why I tip my hat to my therapist at the time because she wasn't one of those. I believe in vibes and energy, and it wasn't that she was just in a professional role. It was some sort of transparency there with her, and she didn't make me feel because of the stuff I shared or when we began to talk about my sexual orientation. She didn't make me feel condemned as certain people when I have those conversations outside of that type of setting. But I say that to say it wasn't because of her like profession that she's operating on an ethical standard and an ethical code that where she can't portray those biases. It was so authentic, and I appreciate that. So it wasn't hard at all. I mean, as I look back, and even throughout the process.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you stuck with it. Like I absolutely love therapy. I think it's amazing. Now, this is it's a memoir, and that's the thing. I've always wanted to write, and I have started, but I've always had this challenge with writing personal pieces of work because of you're dealing with real people, and you're
Right.
dealing with other people who see things differently and different
Right.
perspectives and stuff like that. Was that a challenge for you, revealing all of these things that involved other people? Because I mean, these traumas came at the hands of other people. These things happen. Like, for example, when you were talking about when you're in the hospital sick, and then your aunt was having a conversation, and they made this reference to you having HIV as an assumption, even though you didn't. You were like 15.
Right. And the last thing I was thinking about at that time was sex. You hear me?
Right, right. But like stuff like that, when you reveal that in a book, there's people who will be like, that didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it's always like people have this idea where they remember the stories differently. But I've also seen this quote that said that if you don't want to be written about badly, then you shouldn't be bad. You shouldn't be bad. I'm messing it up, but that's kind of the line of it. It's
Yeah.
like, if you don't want to be portrayed in a certain light, don't behave that way.
Yeah, and I think that goes to say that as individuals we have to be accountable. And I don't want to there's the it's obvious that we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have those interactions that we're not so proud of. But once again, I think it goes back to accountability. You have to be aware of, okay, consciously aware that of how you treat people and how you interact with people and the things you say and the things you do to people. One, because um, you never know how that may affect that person's life.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, you never know who that person is going to become. And I say that in the eyes of a artist and a writer that, um, a lot of my experiences are so interpersonal and they involve other interactions with others. But one, to answer your question, I didn't consider it until literally towards the tail end and definitely after my book was on Amazon. And to be honest with you, my book was on Amazon 2 months before um, I revealed it to anyone, and I had a release date in my head. And that's when in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, what is this person going to think, and how is this person going to feel, and da da da. But then it's like, well, Antoine, it's not like you're falsifying any type of information.
Right.
And also, that's just something to be to kind of be mindful of. And we can't really take away from. We all are humans. We're all going to experience things differently, but you can't tell someone or modify their experience to make you feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Absolutely.
know.
Now, has any of your family talked to you about the book?
To be honest with you, my oldest cousin, who was like the matriarch of our family, she was one of the first. Well, first of all, she's one of my biggest supporters. And I would say that she serves a role as a mentor in my life as well as my cousin. But she was one of the first people who actually bought it, like literally. Like once I announced pre-order, she pre-ordered it, and of course she got it before anyone else got it. And she read it, and she was one of the people, and we had a long uh, conversation about different things. And my sister, my my half sister, she called me. She's a few months younger than me. We had a long talk about it. But other than those two, um, those really are the only two people that came to me and talked to me, of course, and a few other of my relatives. But as far as like a healthy dialogue about it, those were the only people that that I actually talked to about definitely the content and some of the events, like me being molested, because that was an event that I didn't disclose to anyone besides my therapist. So that was their first time learning of it, and we talked about it. But other than that, and it wasn't so much of and that's one thing I appreciate, that they were very open minded. Like my cousin called and she was like, I felt horrible because I knew I didn't know that you were going through all this stuff, and me guiding her to that, like, this is all like a collective reflection of my life. It's not who I am currently, so trying to get people to understand that, like, yes, I have battled with depression, but and it's still honestly a one step at a time thing for me personally. But that's not who I'm not defined by these events, if that makes any sense,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been that was one of the first things that was hard to get them to understand.
Oh, well, you opened the door for healthy conversation. And also, thank you for being courageous and writing this. I mean, it takes a lot to really put oneself out there and be that vulnerable. So thank you for creating this piece of work.
No
Now,
problem.
now, one thing
Thanks.
I really enjoyed with it is I like how you colored some stories with music.
Hmm.
And like, I mean, you use poetry, you use quotes, but me being a huge music fan, I had to kind of be like, oh, this is great. Because it gave you an idea of the time period. Like, there's one thing where you were writing and they were playing Whitney Houston Exhale Shoot. And I was like,
Right.
okay, it literally colors it. And I like how you did that. You were able to add these, like, these cultural moments, like with music and art and stuff like that. And I was like, that's very smart because it gives you an idea of the time period and when it happened. And it really draws the person in. And I think it worked because, I mean, I'm a feeling person anyway. So, I mean, it doesn't take much to make me be like, oh my God, that's so sad. That's just who I am. But what you coloring it that way made me feel like I was there in a lot of the stuff. And so I instantly felt, these different moments, and was just like, I really felt for you, like, oh my God, like I had no idea. Because like when I got the book, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew by the title there had to be some kind of climax and overcoming because it's
Right.
called Victor, like there has to be something. But you really kind of did like a slam dunk throughout. It was like, oh yeah, and then this happened, like, oh my God. But It was great. So is your book self-published?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's self-published. Thank the Lord, baby Jesus, for Amazon and CreateSpace. Because I think for writers and independent publishers, it's kind of like our SoundCloud, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
how musicians and independent artists can put their music on SoundCloud. Like we have CreateSpace. Excuse me.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's awesome. What were some of your challenges when you but after you finished writing the book? And question, let's dig into that deeper. How long did it take you to write the book?
I started January of 2016, and I turned in my final manuscript August the 22nd of 2016.
You did
Um,
that. That's a
yeah.
good timeline.
Listen, it was, and even now I look back because I meet so many people, and I personally believe, and as a lot of people come up to me, whether I'm in school or whether I'm at work or just or out in the community, like, ask me questions like, I always wanted to write a book, and I always try to encourage them, like, look, I personally believe that there is a writer in all of us.
Mhm.
Like, everyone has a story to tell. It's all unique and it's all needed. And everyone asks me, well, how long did it take you to write it? And I always give them that time. It's like, really? Especially after the reader actually read it, has read it, and it really didn't hit me. And I guess because I was so focused at that time period of my life, although now I look back and I'm like, wow, I have to pat myself on the back because even in the moments of me writing, like, life was still real for me. Like, I lost one of my aunts her and I were really close, and even revealing certain content, like, I would go back and I have all my journals since, middle school. So I went into my storage and I pulled those journals out. So reliving all these emotions that, once I wrote about them and packed them up, I never looked at them again, was really, really, really challenging.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that my book coach, Lakia Brandenburg, she told me to create a vision board specifically for my book. So that was like kind of like the fire under my seat as well. And we will have periodic sessions with her where we would meet, discuss my manuscript, discuss my progress, and just having that visual in front of me every day. My vision board like kept me pushing, like, okay, I'm going to go to work, of course, and go to class, and then I'm going to allow like an hour or two to write. But every time I would go back and, describe an event and write, it would be like, oh, I remember this. So an hour would turn into 3 hours, and 3 hours would turn into like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, damn, I'm still sitting here writing. But
I love that though. When you get those creative juices flowing and it just goes.
Right.
It's kind of like when you're cleaning your place. You're like, I'm just gonna do this bathroom, and you're like, let me just go ahead and hit this closet real quick. Next thing you know, you done clean your entire place because you got in the flow. It's that same kind of like you get in the mood for it. And this year, I don't know if you caught my earlier episodes this year. I'm all about execution. I'm all about doing instead of dreaming. I'm a huge dreamer. I'm a Pisces all day. Dream, dream, dream. So now I'm all about manifestation and actually doing. And I'm all about vision boards and making things plain and making them clear. And that's great that you said that. You had something reminding you every day that there was something that you needed to complete, and you did it in, I think, wonderful time. Like January to August is amazing.
Right. Like, I'm telling, and then it was so much, it was so much going on with, like I said, in my personal life. And then I was at a job that, I began to experience a tremendous amount of burnout. And on top of that, being in grad school, to where it's like, it seems like every day I have to write a new paper.
Right.
So it's like, just having that visual in front of me, okay, like, and remembering that this is my ultimate goal, this is my ultimate investment, and it can be done, it's possible. So when I would look at it, it would remind me, okay, Antoine, this, you got to keep pushing because this is what you're working toward, and one of the biggest pieces of, advice that I got from my book coach, LB, was she told me to as I'm making my vision board, to get a clip of a book and put it on there, like the size I want to be or similar to the font that I envision. And I did that. And I would look at it every single day, and it just kept me pushing. So I think having that visual in front of you, gives you something to work toward. And I encourage everyone, even if it's not specifically related to, a book or a product, have some sort of vision for your life, like some type of some sort of motivation and something to work towards. Because I think seeing it just pushes you even more to, work towards it.
Absolutely. That's a word right there. So you finished the book, and I assume you had it edited. And then
Yeah.
all right. And then how long would you say the process was from when you put the period on that last word and was like, I'm finished? How long was the period before it went on sale?
So in August, I turned in my final manuscript, and
This was to who? Your editor?
yeah, this is my editor was Lakia Brandenburg. She is at the wife coach on Instagram, and at Lakia Brandenburg I'm at Lakia Brandenburg on Instagram as well. But and it's so crazy, and I'm gonna be really short, but I have to share the story on how I even got in contact with her. So towards the end of 2015, and once I was wrapping up, my therapy, because I was relocating at the time from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Columbia for grad school. And I just kept having, like, literally, and it's God honest truth, just how me and you having a conversation one particular day, because as I mentioned in my book, my counselor encouraged me, like, Antoine, every day write. So I would just carry this whole huge 5 subject notebook around. I would just write. Every chance I got, I would just write. And one particular day, I'm sitting in my apartment, and I hear this voice, like, write a book. So, of course, I'm sitting there like, yeah, like, first of all, how am I going to do it? That's impossible. Who's going to read it? Who's going to care? So as I'm packing up to move, what do I stumble across? All my journals. And it's like, okay, Antoine, you could really use this and write a book. So once I relocate to Columbia, and it's towards the end of 2015. And I was in my apartment. I'm like, okay, I personally, this is just me, my personal belief. I don't believe in New Year's. I personally celebrate my New Year's every time I turn a new age. Every time my birthday comes, and I'll set goals for myself. So I put that on one of my, goals for that new year. And towards the end of December, one day I wake up, and I don't know if you're familiar with her, but Shun Nelson, she's a wonderful celebrity stylist. I love her, and I personally stalk her on Instagram. So she was hosting this vision board retreat, and the host was LB. So I click on the username, so LB's profile pop up, and LB is a editor for hire, author, and has her own publishing company, Perfectly Imperfect Publishing Company. And I'm like, wow, like, so it's like everything just started to fall into place, because of course I sent her email, and from there just like everything just started falling into place like a domino effect. But long story short, yes, LB edited my book, and I did she has 3 different packages, and one is line editing. So basically, like, line by line, she'll read and send your manuscript back, make notes, give you suggestions or whatever. So I did that, and it took some time because I'm so critical, and she had to literally tell me, like, Antoine, like, stop making unnecessary changes. It's not going to make or break your story. But I would say from August until December, and that was, based on my schedule as well, because I was still going to school and working. So I would devote time to really concentrate on taking her advice and working through my manuscript and really building a concrete manuscript, so that when a reader would read it, that it would be an easy read, Mm-hmm. So from August to December, sorry to get long-winded, but
that's fine.
I always like reminisce on that time and be like just in awe because you know everything it kind of once I put forth the effort, that's when stuff begins to manifest.
That listen, that's a word right there. Like that, but that's the truth though. I literally the last couple episodes have been all about execution. You have to put out there what you want, make it plain, write it down. It has to be in your face, and then you begin working on it. And the universe, God, whatever you believe in, will take over
Yes,
and meet you more than 3/4 of the way, not even
absolutely.
halfway. Sometimes you just got to show up.
Right.
And so you saying that is real. You literally spent 2016 writing a book and you got it from beginning to end. I think that's awesome and beautiful. So trying to think, was there anything else regarding your book that I wanted to point out? Because yep, no, I think that was that. So what do you want to do next creatively?
Well, currently I'm working on a mini documentary, which today I spent, tying in the final pieces, and editing and tweaking some stuff, but it's fucking amazing. Like it is,
Nice.
I was just sitting there like, oh my God. And it's another testament to once you take the initiative, how everything will begin to manifest. And one I feed off of, like I said, once again, I feed off of energy and it's just amazing. So the young lady that I was collaborating with that kind of has been helping me is just an amazing artist. So having that, those her, creative energy around me has just like, inspired me to do more. But I definitely want to continue to do more, get into more film, but film for purpose.
Mm,
I kind of feel like there's a lack of just the um everyday, for lack of a better term, black gay male. There's a lack of our narrative in the world. A lot of stuff that a lot of imagery that we see, sometimes keeps us one dimensional.
yeah.
Yeah. So I want to continue that and just and also like collaborating with other creators and the bulk of our material just be sharing our experience as black men and women who are LGBTQ. Um. So yeah.
Great. That's actually a great lead into the next question. But before we get there, I want to ask you, you've mentioned vibe and energy a couple times already. When's your birthday?
December 8th. I'm
Okay.
a
Oh,
Sag.
same as my best friend. Come through. Come through. That's a yeah, come through, Sag. And that also speaks to your work ethic too, though. I know all my Sag people, you guys are executors to the core. Y'all can have an idea at 8 o'clock and be starting on it at 8:50. Like there's no waiting. And I've always appreciated that.
You know how hard it is for, even when it comes to dating, and the friends I have that are in my life now, we have been friends for so long, so they understand. But especially in when it comes to dating, like it's so hard for me to suppress when there's something I really want to do. Even when it's times to where I'm like running off of 3 hours of sleep, it's like I have to get this out of my head, or even write it down, or even I'll turn my computer on and talk myself through it. But it has to be in execution once I'm clear about my vision,
That's
and it's
dope.
so for people to understand that. And it's like um. So it's great that you mentioned that, because I think that's a trait that a lot of most of the Sagittarius that I met. And I don't really, you know, solely rely on astrology to define people, but I think that's a trait that we share.
Oh yeah, you guys are executors for sure, and you guys hit straight from the hip. Like the filter is not needed with you all. You guys are like, who wants to do this? Let's just say what it is. So
Fact.
that's amazing. So you mentioned about making more kind of like the meat and potatoes media for black gay men, and that's awesome because I want to talk about that some too. As a creative myself, with all that I do, I'm always analyzing what I'm putting out into the world. For example, with this podcast, I am a gay man. I identify as a gay man. The first episode, I say I am a black gay man If you have an issue with that or anything, this is the time to opt out.
Right.
However, I still have media that teaches. I still know that I have listeners from all races, different genders, different, you know what I mean? I have people from all walks of life who aren't simply Black gay men, but I talk about things that I experience, and I like to have different people on the show. Like I've had a show about feminism and things like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not just about Black gay things, but it comes from a Black
Right.
gay perspective because I can't change who I am. Is that something that you consider when you make media? Like what is your thought process when you're creating things?
Absolutely. In inclusiveness is important, but I don't think me personally, like I don't think of inclusive as a terms of suppressing my own personal experiences, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like not and that sometimes is difficult because you want to continue the conversation so that there can be we can continue to work towards normalizing people of other sexual orientations. So there's, you know, although that's going to take a lot of work, and it is taking a lot of work, but the biggest thing is and to be honest with you, that I consider is what did I need growing up?
Say it.
You know,
Say
what,
it.
what did I wish I had when I was growing up? And unfortunately, you know, thank God for Moesha.
Yes, Moesha.
Thank God for Moesha, because, you know, I was able to see, you know, some Black young, you know, teenagers experience, although the age gap was different, but I used to be like, damn, like, what if I was Miles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, there really wasn't no representation of, you know, what it was to be a Black gay male. And I feel like, and I'm just gonna be 100% real. I feel like a lot of what people now see in mainstream culture comes from our community, and it's kind of like we get the short end of the stick, you know.
That's the truth. That is
You know?
like if you look at all the reality shows, if you look at everything, there are straight men who use shade
Listen,
and all the words that we were like, wait a minute, you're using this now?
when it comes down to our language and our verbiage and our fashion sense and our like I personally, I have nothing against them, but I personally, for my own sanity, I don't follow like the popular blog stuff on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a conversation as I was scrolling through my Explore feed about Delicious, and did she get a nose job? So when she posted a picture about contour, and I'm like, this has been, hello, do y'all not watch RuPaul's Drag Race?
Right.
Like, get you a, you know, people be getting a well diverse and skilled makeup artist and make you look like you done been to Dr. Miami.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but I say that to say, you know, yeah, like, and that's one of the things that I consider that drives me, like, what could I do to inspire and give hope to the next young queer Black and, you know, underrepresented kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep that in mind, to be honest, and I just and I go with what feels right, you know, and it took me a long time and a lot of mistakes to learn to just go off of what feels right. And if it has to be forced, if it's not, granted, you're going to have some bumps in the road, but I feel like a lot of times we fight against our intuition and end up creating a mess.
Say it. Listen, you got a lot of quotables. Go for it. Say it, because it's the truth.
Yeah, like, and I had to learn that the hard way, like, and then sitting, you know, but with one of those, I kind of told you so, like, damn, if I only listened to my gut. So I learned to go off that, and every time I have to date, like, everything was, you know, smooth sailing, copacetic, and the original purpose of what I've done or had manifested. Like when I have people come up to me and, like, you know, from all walks of life, and the crazy thing is when I receive emails from people that are all over this country, like, I picked up your book on Amazon, thank you, because it, you know, I can relate to you, or I never told this, or, and it's like, wow, what I initially set out to do is actually manifest itself, just to inspire and give hope to people that, keep although to give a voice to, young Black LGBTQ men and women, but just to inspire hope into people who don't look like me, who don't think as I think, who don't, behave as I behave or have the same belief system, that, we all are human. We all have the same or similar obstacles and trials, and some people many times lose sight and lose hope. So I try to keep that in mind, my why for everything. Like, okay, Antoine, let's start from why do you want to do this? And just go from there.
That is absolutely beautiful and awesome. And wow, okay. Well, there's not much else to say after that powerful message you just gave. Tell people where they can find you and your book.
Find me at I am Antoine Adams on Instagram, and Antoine Adams is my official Facebook page, and all of my content is posted on my official website at www.iamantoineadams.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Like, this is a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, dude. Like, for real, for real. Like, you are one of you and Exo Nicole are one of the two, like, people that, especially, yes, I haven't as much as I have in the past, but I definitely appreciate it when you, at the beginning of the year, you posted about, traveling more and, creating a vision, and I definitely appreciated your content regarding your friends that you dedicated to your, your close female friends, and that was pretty awesome. So thank you for what you contribute and continue to inspire all of us who, adore your content. And thank you for this platform and this opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Well, it was my pleasure. That's what it's here for, is to highlight the good stuff. Well, that is the show, you guys. Remember to subscribe, rate, and comment. If you heard any quotes, I'm telling you, Antoine had hella quotes. Make sure you take the quote at him and use the hashtag The Outline Podcast. Tag me, do all that stuff. Share this episode. Share with people who want to write. Share with people who want to heal. All that good stuff. And I will talk to you all next week. Peace out.